we've had a horrific injury imparted on American families who spent freely out of bubbles, both property and credit. When the bubbles burst, they were saddled with enormous debt overhangs and insufficient saving, and they're desperately trying to get their financial houses in order. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how, a QE2 or QE3 is going to even begin to touch the problems that the average American family is facing.
That's quite interesting you mentioned consumer debt, because in fact today what we learned is that consumer credit card debts actually hit the lowest since 2001. So we do have this massive deleveraging of the American consumer, who makes about 2/3 of the US economy, the world's biggest. But my question is, all this quantitative easing, this money printed, where's it going?
Well, that's an excellent question, and just one point on the deleveraging. Consumers are paying down debt, but their overall debt-to-income ratios are still hugely excessive relative to where they were in the final 3 decades of the 20th century. And so as we inject more money into the system through quantitative easing, it's not going into the spending side of the real economy. It's going into asset markets, and it's sloshing around all over the world. And many developing economies are up in arms about it because they see this money flooding into their borders, distorting their currencies, their capital inflows, commodity prices, and they feel that the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, by embracing this truly untested policy prescription, is really exporting instability to them, and they're very uncomfortable with that.
When and how do we unwind this degree of stimulus and central bank involvement in the economy, and what does that look like to somebody? So if you're trying to make long-term investment decisions and say this has to end somewhere, what does the world look like when it ends?
I think that's really the single most important question, is unwinding these extraordinary stimulus actions. How do we get off of zero interest rates, expanded balance sheets? How do we get away from trillion-dollar deficits without imparting damage on the economy? The central bankers and the fiscal authorities, they say, trust us. We've got the tools to do it, and when the time is right, we will do this. We're 4.5 years into this bold experiment. The Fed has now pretty much said that they're going to keep interest rates at zero now through 2014, who knows how far. It's all about political will, and we have politically compliant central bankers right now that are really operating pretty much almost as de facto fiscal authorities by buying all the Treasury debt. There's no discipline on the fiscal side from continuing to run open-ended budget deficits. So I think you've asked the right question. Unfortunately, we're not getting any answers on this point from the authorities in Washington.